So, this is what I have so far for Arcane Abyss. It is a magic mod I'm working on for Fabric. It is inspired by Thaumcraft and Ars Magica 2. And you will find that at the moment it's pretty bare bones. I don't have everything in just yet. Not a lot of stuff is currently functional because it takes a lot of time and effort to get everything working perfectly. But this right here, this recipe, you might think it is, because that's what it is, it's a recipe, is for the Entropy Infused hood, which is part of an armor set that I have here. Now you'll probably notice that there's these little dark spots on the armor, on the shoulders, on the eyes, and on the well, pretty much everywhere. Those are for specialized crystals that you can add certain buffs to that will increase your effectiveness with the armor. The gold is currently a stand-in for when I add for when copper gets added to the game. I don't feel like adding my own copper ore because then it's just gonna have to get removed, and that means potentially screwing up people's worlds. If, well, I guess that's gonna happen regardless. But either way, I don't want to take the risk and break people's worlds by accident in case they do decide to update to 1.17 without changing their world out. So this is the current thing. This is the altar. These are the pedestals. You can take items off. You can put them on. Easy peasy. It's pretty good. You would right click on it with the infused staff. If you had a entropic flux rift nearby and a setup of these flux relays that could transfer its power into the altar. And over here we have the inscription table. This is going to be used for research and for spellcrafting. You'll probably quickly notice that it is kind of similar to Ars Magica, hence the Ars Magica inspiration. Ars Magica pretty much takes over the entire spell system here. It's not identical to Ars Magica. It is significantly different on its own in certain ways, and in other ways it's very similar. And I tried to make it as, unique as I could, but also as streamlined as I could so that, new players have a good understanding of what they're doing. So, that's where these Runic Stones come in. They are a physical item. They can be crafted. Different ones have different recipes. There we go. Forgot that it does that for whatever reason. As you can see, they have these little icons underneath. These icons tell you the exact spell element or spell component that is in them. Spell components can take 3 different types: shapes, elements, and modifiers. So, let's say I wanted to do a projectile that would teleport me, and then it would create an AoE of, let's say, damage. And then I wanted to increase the potency and the size of that AoE. Well, in here, I would place down a piece of spell paper, which, as you can see, has a little render on there, and an ink pot and quill, which also has a little render here. And you would then do it in this exact order: shape, element, shape or modifier. Any modifiers here or here will only apply to the element back here. So shape, element, modifier, modifier. There can only be one element per shape. Modifiers only apply to the previous element and shape. Potency, for instance, would apply to damage, whereas size would apply to AoE. And that will give me a written piece of spell parchment under normal circumstances. However, for testing purposes, since I have not quite added in spell crafting in the altar over here, since I don't have that in here yet, it is going to give me the crystal that I would normally be getting from the crafting recipe here. I would also like to point out each of these has their own item attached to it. I don't have them all memorized off the top of my head, though, which is unfortunate. Actually, no, it's the same item that's used to craft them. So damage would be an iron axe. Teleport would be an ender pearl, if I remember correctly. Projectile is an arrow. AoE is what? I don't know if we're going to be able to find it with any reasonable amount of... where is it? Oh, well, size is a magma cream. You'll notice pretty much all of these... Oh, here's AoE, it's Dragon's Breath. You'll notice that pretty much all of these are, in some way, just they're just vanilla items. And I wanted it to keep that way because I didn't want to add a whole bunch of items that would only get used twice. So the only item from my mod that is currently used in creating a spell is the Entropic Crystal. And that's because this is used for pretty much everything. It's used in these flux relays, it's used to create these spell crystals, and it's used to create this Flux Thrower, which I will show off in just a moment. And of course, it is used for, well, yeah, for spells. I think I already said that. So yeah, that is how you would make a spell. When you click this button, it'll take away some of the ink in here. You'll also notice that the GUI changed. That's because what's in here right now is, well, not a piece of spell paper. Under normal circumstances it would, so it would be on the normal GUI. If anything else is in this slot, which only one other item is really allowed to be in this slot, but because it just changed the item in here, it did this whole thing. But under normal circumstances you would not be able to put it in there. But what you would be able to put in there is a research scroll. So let's say you have a research scroll. You would be able to do it in here. And on this sidebar you would have a list of lines that you could place down along these. As I don't have research in just yet, it doesn't have any of the stuff that it's supposed to. So normally you would have the you would have lines here. You would be able to pick them out depending on the research here, and that's based on the level of research. There are 5 levels. As you can see, none of the research scrolls are in here, of course, but there are 5 levels: novice, apprentice, journeyman, expert, and master. And they increase the complexity that you have to make the little glyph in there. So, let's just make 2 more burner spells real fast. Let's do a conjure elemental and lob shape, and a self shape, and a telekinesis element, sure. Flight, that's cool. Everybody likes a little bit of flight. So lob, conjure elemental, that'll give me this spell crystal, and then self and telekinesis, and that'll give me this spell crystal. So now I have these 3 spell crystals, and this is part of it that took way too long to get working properly. If I hold down left alt on my keyboard, I now have 3 spell crystals that I can choose from. Now, under normal circumstances, or under the finished circumstances, you'll be able to go to one of these, and when you lift off the alt key, it will it'll remove the item from the inventory and put it onto the staff. If you were to do shift alt, it will put it back off the staff and back into the inventory. It is relatively simple. It is going to be very nice, and there is a maximum that you can have. That maximum is going to be 8, So you cannot put more than 8 spell crystals. You cannot have more than 8 of them at a time in here. So yeah, anyways, I think the last thing to show off then is the Flux Thrower. So the Flux Thrower is a very, very interesting weapon. It only does 4 damage by default, so not a lot of damage. However, if the projectile hits an entity, you'll see that they're affected with a potion effect, and they take a little bit of damage. Not much, just a little bit. And if I hit him again, you'll notice that the recharge was significantly faster this time. It went from 0.8 seconds to 0.5 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and kill that creeper. So, here's the fun part of the Flux Thrower. If I were to summon an Iron Golem, these guys have 100 HP, and I'm doing about, I'm doing like maybe 5-6 damage in total per hit. However, if I keep hitting it while it still has that potion effect applied, the damage is tripled. So it no longer does 4 damage per hit, it does a whopping 12 damage per hit, and can attack twice a second. So that's a combined DPS of up to 24 damage a second, which is, kind of nuts. And it's going to use the same reservoir of energy that the staff is going to use. So you will not be able to, spam it infinitely. You will have to make your shots count, and you will have to make sure that you can aim. Because if you can't, well, unfortunately, you will lose. And yes, this is a projectile, so you do have to account for, player movement. You have to be able to aim ahead. So that is, so far, I believe, everything of importance in the mod as of right now. It is, I'm hoping to have a build out probably by the end of February. I don't want to make any promises, but I'm hoping that'll be the build with all of the finalized logic of the inscription table, other than research. I don't know if I'm going to add that in for that build, but I want to get the spell crafting in its entirety, and also give you the ability to craft the armor. Maybe add in the little armor forge that'll allow you to put crystals on the armor, and have those implemented as well. Spell logic is not currently done, obviously, so that's probably going to be the most time-consuming part of the entire thing. I don't think the altar will take that long. I think the altar will be actually relatively easy to do. So yeah, that is about it for now. This Inkpot and Quill is basically dead. I'm probably going to give you the option, the ability to repair it. So, until then, I guess, until I have more stuff in. I suppose once I have, like, spells functioning and everything, I'll probably do another update then. And I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble while I explained this mod.